Hi guys, back again. I suppose I'm gonna start from the start on this fucking thing again. Uh, I was living in Smithsborough for 4 years or 6 years with my partner. We had a house rented in Smithsborough. Me and my partner split up at the house we were living in Smithsborough. Yeah, we were the best of friends and that. After we split up, I moved over to Scott's house I was over there for 12 months. And I think she found another fella, whatever, and she moved from the house. She said she was moving from the house. I didn't like living in Scottstown or Scott's house. So I said, could I rent her house off her? So I rented the house that she was renting in Smithsborough. So that was all right. I was there for a while or so, whatever. But I was on my own, like the kids were with her or whatever, anyhow. But so I was taking a few drinks every night. And I got to the stage where my head was fucking numb with the drink. So I said, I have to do something. What am I going to do? So I said, if I go to the doctor's only going to prescribe a pill or something, or go in and get a detox for a couple of days, which I did the year before that. But it wasn't actually, it was helping, the detox was helping at the time, right? At the time you were in for a couple of days, getting a detox or whatever it was, 2 or 3 days or whatever it was, and then you were let back out. But so it was like, so you were just let back out. You felt like more drinking, you drank more, so that was just basically it. So I said, that really wasn't much good. Like, I was thinking, could I see a psychiatrist myself, or what would the best thing to do to get a bit of help? Like, it was a cry for help probably at the time, So what I done was I rung her. Previous to this, about 6 months or 12 months, I bought a wee motorbike. And I had it out the back in the thing, and I was doing it up bit by bit. And I rang her up and I told her that I left the motorbike running in the back kitchen in the house and tried to commit suicide, tried to gas myself out of it. Well, so when she heard this anyway, she come up anyway and then brought me over to Cavan Hospital, which I didn't try to commit suicide. It was only a fab. It was only a cry for help, to see could I get help for me drinking and for, well, I wasn't mental in the head or crazy or anything, but I knew I had to do something to try and sort myself out. So this is what I concocted. To say I started the motorbike, left it going, inhaled the gas, and that I tried to commit suicide, right? I went over to the hospital anyhow and examined me and this and that and bloods and all the rest, and that was okay anyhow. And they wanted to do a test. It's in here in your arm. It's a blood test, but the needle goes in this way in here. And I swear that the pain of it it's unbelievable, the pain of it to get it in there. So the same day or something, I think it was, they wanted to do a secondary, and I said, no way was I getting that done again, not a hope in hell, not of it. I will just say, well, that's all right. Anyway, if you had inhaled much of the smoke or something, most of the fumes, you'd be vomiting all over the place anyhow, whatever, which I wasn't. I didn't inhale any fumes. But this is all a prefab to get a bit of help for the drinking and to sort of help to sort myself out or whatever anyway. So they admitted me to the hospital some department in Cavan. To cut it a long story short, I spent about 7 days there. Previous to that, 4 or 5 years to that, I slipped 2 discs in my back, and the pain of it was unreal. I was walking around bent over like this, hardly able to walk for 3 or 4 days that I was there, and they didn't even give me as much as a painkiller for my back. And I went to them and they gave me an old heat rub for my back or whatever. But the pain of it was unreal. But what they should have done was brought me upstairs to the hospital and got me x-rayed and went and see was the disc back in place or out of place or what. Or sent me to a chiropractor or whatever it was because the pain was fucking damnable. No, there was no help on that end of it. Some of them was okay. Some of them were not okay. I got in, there was a nurse taking bloods, and whatever happened, she didn't give the wiped alcohol time to dry off, and the alcohol got into my bloodstream. And you talk, I swear to God, it was like pouring boiling water on your arm. It was that sore. It was unbelievable. There was some lovely people there, lovely nurses there, and the whole lot of them, and there was grand. The food was lovely and everything. The accommodation was lovely, beds. Everything was perfect, but there was a few of the nurses there and that would just like to see you suffering in pain, and that's not telling you a word of a lie. They would like to see you suffering. Now, I don't know whether my targeting was in place at that stage. But to put me on some sort of medication anyhow, it was like it left you worse than better. It left you feeling sick, you were drowsy, you were fucking all over the shop, you didn't know what to do. And then it took 3 or 4 days, the effects of that to wear off. Then it went from 100 milligrams up to 150 milligrams up to 200 milligrams. And well, basically after the course of tablets, you were no better off than when you started. Than when I started, you know. So I was talking to the psychiatrist then for a couple of times, or the doctor or whatever. I think it was twice I was talking to him or whatever anyhow. But when I went in first, there was this black chap there, or I don't know, he was a coloured fella anyhow, and he was weighing, taking your name and address or whatever, and he weighed me, you know. And I stood up in the scales, and what he said was, looked at the scale, I says, well, what does that mean? Does that mean underweight or overweight or what's it? Just at that, he walked away, and I didn't see him again. As far as I believe, that was the start of it in the hospital. Now, I got out of, I was a couple, there was in there, there was patients in there, they were the best of lads. I'm not going to start discussing what they were in for, but they were the best of chaps in anyhow. But I was let out, I suppose, after 7 days or 8 days, I don't know how long it was, I forget how long I was in there for X amount of days anyhow, but I was no better off from when I went in until I came out. But when I came out, I was noticed these cars, they're revving and flying up and down the state, flying up and down, and this music going boom, 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 boom. This is what I noticed, right? That was in my ex-partner's house. I was, when I got out and I went back to her house, I was over visiting the boys a couple of days or whatever, or in the evening times, or babysitting or whatever it was anyhow. But all I could notice was these cars flying up and down the state and playing this boom, boom, boom music, foreigners. I was wondering, what the fuck is this, what's going on here, or whatever the fuck it was anyhow. that was grand anyhow. And then I'd be out at night or gone home at night or whatever it was, and the next thing it was the car swerving at me at night time, and then in the daytime as well, and then getting bad manners in the shops, and when church changed your money you had to go back. It might have only been 50 cents, €1, €2 or whatever it was, but you always had to go back. It was wasting your time. That's what it was basically, you know. But stuff like this here, and then been blocked on the roads, and yokes pulling in front, you know. And I says, what in the name of fucking Jesus is going on here? But that was, I suppose, about a week after I got out, just after I got out of the hospital. That's when it started then. And then it continued on and on and on and on from there to there. But what my point is, if I had had, now I don't know whether this is whether you're suspected of doing something, whether you're a criminal, whether you got away with a court case, whether you done damage, or whether you didn't do damage, or whether you done whatever you done or something. This is what I think anyhow. That these people were told that you'd done something, and to watch out for you. You're a drug dealer, you're a rapist, you're this, that, the other. But this continued on and continued on anyhow. But what my point is, if you had really had, which I hadn't, any qualms or any, how would I say with it, any thoughts of committing suicide in the beginning. It was only a cry for help. But if you had a mental illness or whatever it was, right, that you did try and commit suicide, right, and you're in the hospital or whatever, and you were kept for a certain amount of time, and then you were let out and put on medication or whatever, and you were let out, and you encountered this program when you come out, you would definitely commit suicide. It was that bad. But what my point is, that I think suicide and this program run hand in hand. That if they think, right, like obviously the authorities knew and everybody knew, like that, or the ones in the hospital knew that I was in for trying to kill myself. But they'd be saying, now's the time to hit him when the head is not right. And if you had a mental handicap that you did try and commit suicide or whatever, or harm yourself or whatever, and you were let out and you encountered this program, this stalking and harassment program, you would definitely kill yourself if you encountered that. So my point is, suicide and the program run hand in fucking hand. Most 100% sure of that. Another small point is, I watched a lot of stalking videos, right? And in some of them, a lot of the cases, it was that the fathers, the ones that's been put through this program, either some of the relations had committed suicide, their mother, their father, relations, cousins, aunts, whatever it was, had committed suicide. And an awful lot of these people was put on an awful lot of these people is on the program, is in the program, in the stalking and harassment program, and an awful lot of their relations had committed suicide previous to this. So what I believe is that if they think that mental illness or suicide has run in the family, it's not by introducing a program to this person that they have a dislike to or took a dislike to, they'd be nearly sure that they'd commit suicide as well, or it wouldn't take much for them to commit suicide. And that my opinion is that if you had a mental illness and that you were suicidal thoughts or whatever, and this program was introduced to you, that you would commit suicide. That is my thoughts on it anyway. I don't know. But to begin with, I had no thoughts of killing myself. It was only a cry for help to say, to see if you went to the doctor, he's going to send you to the hospital, you're going to be there for a couple of days, dry out, numb, feel better, back to the drinking. I wanted a more in-depth valuation into this drinking and the fucking mindset and the whole lot, which I couldn't get. But the tablets don't work and the psychiatrists don't work. They might work for a short while, but they don't work. But it's good to talk to someone. I will agree that it is good to talk to somebody about your problems. But then again, you can pick up your phone and you can talk into your camera and replay it back to yourself or whatever. In some cases, they might direct you in the right direction. But what I think is, if you can talk to somebody or talk to your phone or your camera or whatever it is and get out in the wild, in wilderness or whatever, and, work it out there. Lead a simpler life. Fuck the computers, fuck the phones and society. Fuck society out there. They're not going to help you. And get out for walks and walk about or whatever and get your vitamins into you and sort of eat healthy. Forget about the sugar, forget about the coffees, forget about the lattes, the fucking bread, the rice, all this fucking poisoned food. Forget about all that shit and just go back to basics. You will be 90% on your way to curing this up here. And the fella says, find yourself a hobby, a tin whistle, a musical instrument, something that you like doing, woodwork, carving, anything. Find a bit of a hobby for yourself. Now, I'm fucking saying this and I'm still stuck in the middle of this fucking program, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I'm only trying to help someone out there that might need a bit of help. But this is what happened to me. Now, that's 6 years ago. That's at the very beginning of my stalking and harassment started. Now, my relations will say to you, I'm crazy, I'm this, I'm that, you're paranoid, you're all the rest of it. How can you make the likes of this up? Do you know what I'm saying? How you can't. You cannot make the likes of this up. Or make these fucking stories up that targeted individuals say or tell you or whatever. You can't make them up. It's impossible. And there's too many videos out there of targeted individuals for it to be ignored and say that, oh, you're paranoid, you're crazy. But by them saying this is trying to, you see, when the truth starts coming out, They'll always have a method of saying, oh, go into the mental hospital, you're paranoid, you're schizophrenia, you have anxiety, you know, you have this, that, or the other. You know, they'll always make an excuse when the truth starts coming out. They'll make some poxy excuse to try and bang you down again. But at the end of the day, guys, there's going to be too many of us out there for them to say you're crazy, you're paranoid, or whatever. There's going to be too many, and it's getting that way. It's getting that way. You know, when you actually, when like, there's an awful lot of people that don't know about stalking and harassment, you know, but there's an awful lot that knows about it as well. But at the end of the day, 90% of these people is going on second-hand information. That someone has came to them and told them. Who is the ones that came to you and told you? Are they God? Are they, I don't know, king and fucking queen or whatever the fuck it is, you know, that told you this? That this for a complete stranger that, as Manta says, they don't know you from a hole in the wall, but yet they'll go out and stalk you and harass you for something that someone has told them that you done or you didn't do, or suspected of doing. But suicide and this program run hand in hand. But don't pass any remarks on them, guys. That they're only fucking weaklings themselves. They're only weaklings. They wouldn't last a day. They wouldn't last a week if you put them under this program. Any fucking one of them. I see half of them out there. They wouldn't last a couple of days. They'd be screaming on their hands and knees. That's what they'd be at. I know rightly with them. They haven't. There's the mind to have there, or the brains to have. Most of them. There is an awful lot of smart people out there, and I know there's an awful lot of smart people out there. But 90% of them, if you introduce this into their lives, they'd be fucking bawling and crying out there on the corner, or whatever they'd be at. I don't know what they'd be at, but they wouldn't last no time at all, because they're simple-minded people. That's why they have no brains of their own. But that's all I can think of at the minute, guys. That's some of my story, some of it, not all of it or a quarter of it. That is only a small proportion of what happened to me. And if you don't believe me on that end of it, you can look up Brian Harvey targeted ex-East 17 singer in England. And he'll tell you that they diagnosed him, I think it was with bipolar, which he probably hasn't got anyway. But he'll tell you he was in the hospital. He was put into the hospital, I'm not sure, the mental hospital or whatever you call them, for a week or two. I'm not sure how long he was in it. But if you Google Brian Harvey, East 17 or ex-East 17 singer, he's the main lead singer in East 17. If you Google him and look up his story, he'll explain much the exact same thing that I said about the hospitals here that I went through, and he'll tell you the exact same thing. I don't know, guys. We can't all be lying or making up stories or paranoid or crazy or whatever, you know. We could be paranoid, we could have anxiety, and we are not stupid people. We are not. We know what's going on. We know what's happening. But the further it goes on, the more truth comes out. And then when the more truth comes out, you or me are claimed to be more mentally ill. They'll try and do that anyhow. They'll try and mark you with mental illness. That your head's gone. They'll try anything to get out of saying that that you've been stalked and harassed. But there has been multiple suicides in this country here, and I reckon they should be all reinvestigated. The families should get them reopened and reinvestigated, and investigated by an independent party of what happened to them or what didn't happen to them. And I believe that they were driven to suicide. And I know 3 people that was driven to suicide. But I didn't know it at the time that it was happening to them. That it was going on. But now that I'm going through this program, I realise now that that's exactly what happened to them. 3 of them. If not 4, I think. Now, that's the society you're living in, He shot himself, or he hung himself, or he drowned himself. Why did he do this? Or why did she do this? Or why did he do this? You don't lift a gun in the morning and put it to your head and shoot yourself in the head. You don't get up in the morning out of the blue and lift a gun and shoot yourself. Because the people in society now are being driven to commit suicide. And if you're anyway mentally ill, or I'm not saying mentally ill, but what other way would the people be with the coronavirus and been lied to and told and put under pressure, left ESB and groceries and the price of everything going up, tax and insurance and NCT and cars? How can people, and then if they're put under a little bit of pressure, then, God knows what they're going to do, But at the end of the day, guys, it's wrong. This is fucking wrong. This is evil. We know it's evil, but the people out there don't give 2 fucks. They don't give 2 shits about man, woman or child, I don't want to say too much, guys, because I probably am in enough trouble as I am. As Matthew Ting says, you're going to be disappearing, boy. You'll be disappearing, and the police won't be looking too hard for you either. No one gives a fuck about you, Matthew says about Johnny. And Johnny knows that. Johnny knows nobody gives a fuck about him. So, nothing new there. Right, guys, I leave it at that. If that's any help or any good, I don't know. But that's only a small bit of my story. I'll continue it on from where I left. I'll make a second video about this or whatever anyway. Thanks, guys, for listening to this. Peace out.